Hello and welcome to Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snake, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about Bitcoin. Where is it heading in August? Just as a reminder, none of this is financial advice. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, and join my free Snake Pit Telegram group. Link is in the video description below. So we're going to start out by talking about the S&P briefly, since what happens in broader markets does absolutely affect crypto markets, even if they are uncoupled at times. You can see that since like March of 2020, the S&P has actually been in a rising wedge. This is a pattern that is macro bearish and typically breaks to the downside. Now, I'm not seeing a complete breakdown happen here, but I am seeing the S&P very likely to start correcting. We know that we have the FOMC meeting today, actually yesterday. It's already August 1st here where I'm at. And Powell, although he did sound dovish on future months for FOMC, like September for rate cuts, he held it steady at I think at 550 basis points. So I don't know. That was what the market expected, but I think the fact that he was dovish could lead to the market starting to price in those rate cuts a little bit early, since the market is forward looking. On a 2-week time frame, you can tell quite a bit, right? So we are holding up really well right now on the this would be the 100-week whole moving average. Remember, I don't look at simple moving averages exclusively on my channel. I look at whole moving averages, or HMAs, which are much more current than the SMAs. Golden crosses and death crosses take on a whole new meaning. As you can see, here was a death cross back in April of 2022 and a golden cross in August of 2023. Now, I don't think we're anywhere near printing a death cross right now, but I do think that we could see some prolonged weakness from the S&P heading into September rate cuts. And I think that we would need to see a little bit of a drawdown, maybe to here, maybe to the 100-week HMA, or perhaps even further down to the Gaussian channel before the Fed takes action. So that's what I would be looking at. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the S&P price action is absolutely related to what goes on with Bitcoin. So here's Bitcoin on the 2-week, and you can see if I zoom in on it, it doesn't look as good as the S&P, right? The S&P has a better looking chart at the moment. Bitcoin has just been kind of stuck in this very slow bleed, if you want to call it that. It's been putting in lower highs and lower lows. And what's kind of interesting is if you look at the 50-week and the 100-week, again, while this is not close to putting in a death cross by any means, nor do I think this is the most likely outcome, I do see some further weakness coming. We are getting rejected at the 100-week whole moving average on the 2-week. Although the Gaussian channel does look really good, remember the Gaussian channel is a lagging indicator. The whole moving average is a slightly lagging indicator, but not nearly as lagging as the Gaussian channel. Volume has been kind of trailing off. We're seeing decreased volatility. If I turn on the Bollinger Bands, let's turn off the HMAs and put on Bollinger Bands. Right here, you can see that we are right at the median line. We actually bounced off of it, but it does look like things are starting to turn down. Once again, this does not look like a very bullish formation. You may recall one of my previous videos, I was predicting a bullish August. I was looking at like a cup and handle. I still think we're going to get that handle, but I think we're going to get some downside first. And the logical place for this downside to go, if I had to guess, is pretty much the same target I've had all along. If you've been following along with my downside targets in my videos, I can draw it for you here. I may have to edit it a little bit as I put it in, but this is what I've referred to as my red zone. I'm going to have to edit it. So we'll just go ahead and put this at 45,000 and this one at 50,000. Never remember which one goes on the top and which one goes on the bottom. It looks like I got it right. And so that is my red zone, and that is kind of where I would expect a nice reversal. And notice how that coincides really nicely with the bottom of this weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band, which I would estimate would actually creep up by the time this might happen. So if I had to look and take a little stab at what I think is likely to happen, maybe I'll turn on a Gunnar EMA with it. That's my Gunnar EMA. So it looks like we are holding the top part of the Gunnar EMA band, and here's the bottom part of the bullish band around 55K. I don't know. I just feel like we need a pretty substantial flush out in the market, and we might be starting to price in rate cuts now. It is possible because, again, Powell was very dovish on, in his FOMC meeting. So if we draw an arrow where this might go, and again, there could be bounces along the way. It looks like August might actually end up being a slightly red month. Maybe let's put the path drawing tool on. Maybe we get like a little bounce somewhere in August. It could be here at this, maybe around the whole moving average. I mean, the Gunari and May red line or something, and then down into September to rate cuts. Sorry, I'm not really expecting these time frames to line up perfectly, and then maybe we kind of bounce out of that. And the end of the year, I think the end of the year will be very kind to us. Assuming we get rate cuts, right, which is an assumption that I think is safe to make at the moment. Something like 95 or 96% of the CME group participants believe that rate cuts are likely to happen in September. But until then, we could see a bleed in the stock market and a bleed, and that could be kind of what triggers the Fed to finally cut rates. Not only the Fed cares about Bitcoin or crypto that much, they may start to care about it in future years. They definitely care about the stock market. And so the stock market starts to show weakness. And we could do a little correlation study to see how closely correlated Bitcoin price movement is with the stock market. So I'm going to pull up my correlation study. So I believe it's this one here. Let it load, and we'll compare it with the S&P 500. And we can kind of see what we might expect. I have my 2-week price momentum oscillator, which I will come back to. Interestingly, right now, this is on a 2-week time frame. We're actually seeing a p-value quite low. It's coming in around 0.3, but this is a level that we've seen bounces at before. We've seen bounces in 2023. We've seen bounces in October or August, September 2023, February, March 2023. It was only in 2021 that things really got decoupled, but that was during mania by crypto. So it is reasonable to think that that Bitcoin may start to shift around here to a more positively correlated state instead of having a p-value of 0.3, which is kind of like somewhat weakly positively correlated. We might see it jump back up to these higher levels as we head into the end of Q3. So that's just speculation. I'm not really sure. Yeah, blow this up for you so you can see a little bit better. So generally the higher values are higher correlations with the S&P, meaning whatever the S&P does, Bitcoin does the same thing. But when we're down here, it's like, okay, Bitcoin will do the same thing as what the S&P does sometimes, but sometimes it'll just kind of do its own thing as well. So meaning if the S&P drops, Bitcoin won't necessarily drop, but it is likely that we'll see it drop maybe 1 out of every 3 or 4 times that the S&P drops if it's in this kind of correlation range. So shifting back to, let's go ahead and X this out and put the 2-week price momentum oscillator. This is something that I've mentioned several times in this channel, and when I got super bullish about August and I was getting carried away, as I sometimes do, I kind of like had this on the back burner and forgot about it. That was a big mistake. I've mentioned this before on my channel, but when we've hit levels on the 2-week price momentum oscillator this high, like around 97, which really has only happened a handful of times. I mean, last time we got that high was in March of 2013. Before that, in May of 2011, we've had some pretty substantial drops. So in May of 2011, that ushered in a bear market. In March of 2013, that ushered in a pretty extended correction that took us all the way to September before we saw a reversal. And I think we're likely to see something like that again. So I think this is playing out in a very similar kind of way to what happened in 2013. And so we've already gotten a little bit of red on the price momentum oscillator, but I think we need to see more like this. We need to see some more red lights. I don't think we're going to see red like this or this. I don't think we're heading into a bear market. I think this is just a bear trap, a very nasty bear trap. So I think that we will print a higher low on the price momentum oscillator relative to this low here. And, if I had to guess, bring my path drawing tool out, I mean, we put it pretty nasty. This looks nasty, right? So I think we're, likely going to go down. There could be another kink along the way, maybe we come up a little bit, And again, I apologize for the time frame, but I ultimately think we'll resolve maybe somewhere around here before heading back up again into 2025, probably. I think this is going to take longer than it took in 2013 to play out, and we complete our bull market sometime in 2025. I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, something like that. I honestly don't know. But anyways, could be something like that in the price momentum oscillator. Anytime you see a bullish kink on this, that is going to be, slightly bullish, but as long as we have a red signal line, we anticipate those rallies to be short-lived. Of course, we never know when the big rally is coming. I think it comes after rate cuts. I think we're pricing in rate cuts right now. I think it's the beginning of it. Unfortunately, I think things are going to get worse, ultimately for Bitcoin in the next month or two. And by association, Ethereum and the altcoin market will probably suffer as well. Yeah, I mean, we can look at some other indicators. I don't want to get analysis paralysis or give you analysis paralysis either. If we look at like the ADX and DI on the 2-week, we can see the bullish momentum has been slowing down. This happened in 2013 as well, but ultimately we got another, run up. So I think we're seeing something just very similar to 2013 in terms of price momentum. Obviously things don't play out exactly the same way that they've, played out in the past, but we can expect things to rhyme. If they don't repeat, they will not repeat. But we could expect things to maybe rhyme a little bit. Yeah, so maybe what we'll take a look at next is Bitcoin dominance. So let's see if I have it pulled up here off on the side. I've got way too many things. Bitcoin dominance is kind of an interesting animal. This is on the 2-week, and I've got the Gunnar EMA band in here, and Bitcoin dominance has been riding that EMA band. Weighted logarithmic Bollinger Bands are in an uptrend, but looking like they're slowly kind of curling out. And I've pointed this out with Bitcoin about Bitcoin dominance before, where I've just seen that, on the 2-week it looks really good. Yeah, on the 2-week it looks great, but if you look back at what happened in 2020, 2021, we had a breakdown not too long after the 2-week had turned green. We were waiting for that inflection point. So we're just kind of like, if you look at the 1-week, it actually uses something that looks a little bit more bearish. You can see the inflection in the Gaussian channels happen. A 1-week is more sensitive than a 2-week. A 2-week is usually pretty sturdy. Now, this is a very good looking Gaussian channel on the 2-week, but how well will this hold? We have been holding the median line of the Bollinger Band, so that is something impressive. But this is a rising wedge. This is very likely to break down. I can't tell you when it's going to break down or exactly how it's going to break down, but I have a hard time seeing it dissolve before rate cuts happen, substantially before rate cuts. So I think Bitcoin dominance is likely to maintain some relative strength during August. I don't know if it'll maintain strength during the entire month of August. I mean, that is certainly something possible. You can look at the monthly, and we should turn off the Gaussian channel if we're looking at the monthly. And you can see that Bitcoin dominance is pretty bullish on the monthly time frame. It was bullish back in 2019 before we had rate cuts. So it's of course at a less steep angle because we have much more variety in the crypto space than we have ever had. And so I would expect that this uptrend will kind of flatten out over time. But it certainly is, above all the key moving averages. If we look at the 50 and the 100 month, I don't know. Yeah, we barely have a 100 month. There was a golden cross on Bitcoin dominance that happened in September of 2023. A golden cross. Okay, maybe I'll turn on a 20 as well. We can see if we extend this out, the 20-month and the 50-month, I'm going to turn off the 100 because it's just a distraction, look like they're heading for a death cross. And not only that, but Bitcoin dominance has not been able to get above its 20-month. So this is an interesting thing to look at. Has this happened before? Yes. We had a death cross in August of 2020. And that death cross corresponded to, in fact, as that death cross started to form, that right there was one of your altcoin seasons coming down here. It wasn't the major altcoin season, but it was an altcoin season. And I think we're probably heading for something similar. relatively soon. So this is what's happened before, is that your 20-week HMA would sort of max out as Bitcoin dominance started falling down. And you can sort of see it starting to curl around here. And you can almost imagine maybe in October, maybe dominance is getting closer to like the 57, 58% level, which has kind of been my topping region that I've sort of expected it to do. Could it go higher? Sure. I don't think it will, but some people do, and I certainly respect their beliefs. In terms of what it would take for dominance to kind of start to break down, I don't even know why I have volume there. This is the parabolic SAR, and you can see it keeps climbing. About 52% dominance would constitute a downtrend. And we did get a little bit of a downtrend in the last bull run before we bounced back up for Bitcoin to go on a major run to get near its all-time high for the early part of the cycle before ultimately kind of caving in and really not doing a whole lot until now. And this is not at all a very bullish looking structure in the grand scheme of things compared to, the past. So there's that. Let's go back to Bitcoin. I already did a really long Bitcoin. Sorry, I don't have a Bitstamp. I want to go to, I should just use these shortcuts. I have a way of just always kind of doing, actually, I'm not sure what happened to it, doing things a long way. Not really on purpose. It just kind of happens. This is Bitcoin on the monthly. Okay. So let's blow this up quite a bit. And you can see just flagging, really. It does look bullish, but you can see that the monthly median line, which I think is something we're very likely to visit in this downtrend, is around 50K, 48 to 50K. So I think, honestly, I think we are going to get near there, if not get to it before we start the next leg of our bull run. Right now, August is opening up red. July was green. I think there's a fairly good chance that August ends up being a red month and September also ends up being a red month, at least partially. I don't know that I want to project and prognosticate that far out, but I think, again, I think we just need to see more pain in the market before we see a sustained bull run. If we look at the, actually I have it over here. I want to pull up the Bitcoin risk level. So this is sort of, and then let's take away the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Bands so we can see this more clearly. So this is our risk curve, and notice I have the red zone in there. I can actually take that out if you want. We don't have to look at that right now. So Bitcoin's risk right now is 44. And so if you look at these are possible, like statistically probable values. Zero risk would be sort of like a bear market bottom. And that right now is around 30.5K. So it's very, very unlikely, if the bull market is at least continuing, which I think it is. I have no reason to be bearish right now. Not maybe short-term bearish, but certainly not long-term bearish. Bitcoin has always hit the top of this regression line every single cycle. So we didn't even get close at this point. So I think, could we come down to maybe the 30 risk level? Yeah, I think it's likely that we do. But do I see us getting down to like the 0, 10, or 20? No, absolutely not. I don't. That would constitute something typically seen during bear markets. Now, you could argue in COVID, we went all the way down there, but that was COVID. That is probably not something too typical. I would be absolutely shocked if we went to zero risk. It would freak me out. But I am prepared for a drop to the 30 risk, or even slightly below 30, before we start to build out a sustainable base to move higher. And it's for these reasons that I think that this bull market that's sort of been percolating here, where the November election, September rate cuts, probably more rate cuts after that, I think we're going to see a bull run extend well into 2025. And we're going to see these risk levels adjust, but I think Bitcoin could see a top somewhere around 200K or even higher, depending on how long this bull run lasts for, which we have no clue. If the bull run were to pop off today, the highest we would expect to go would be probably somewhere realistically around 160,000. So really puts things in perspective when you look at where Bitcoin's price is at right now, 64.5K, that it's not that, it's not really that convincing this could be a top, right? Certainly could be like a 2019 style top. This is not what we hope for. Of course, we won't know for sure exactly, but 2019 was just a different time in the market, so it's kind of maybe a mistake to compare it here. We had just had a major bear market and climbed out of it. Now you could argue that this almost looks like an extended version of 2019. Okay, but if it's an extended version, then we might expect this bearish behavior to not be as dramatic either, with diminishing volatility to the downside. So a point I'm trying to make is I'm still very bullish on Bitcoin. That has not changed. And you can see that there is a lot of reason to believe that we're going to see more bullishness as time goes on with Bitcoin, and not bearish, not significant bearishness for a while. So in conclusion, what can I say about Bitcoin? I can just say that it is looking very bullish to me on the whole, but I think we may have a red August. We could have a red September as well. If that happens, I anticipate a very green end of the year. I've said it before. I think, in fact, we could look at the quarterly candles while we're at it. This is something I haven't done on this channel in a while, or even in my Telegram group. Let's look at the quarterly candles, okay? So let's see if we can kind of like scrunch this all up. And I'll maybe even throw some averages on here just for fun. You can see that during major mania, right? Like major mania phases, right here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 green quarters in a row. This major mania, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green quarters in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green quarters in a row. We have only had at most 2 green quarters in a row. So it really doesn't feel like major mania has started here. I feel like we're going to have a couple green, at least a few more green quarters, right, to take us out somewhere. And I think 2025 is going to be very green. I think if, based on, even though we can see that this is kind of rounding out a little bit, I'm curious. I'm going to pull up some indicators that I don't normally pull up on this kind of time frame, just out of curiosity. You can see that the quarterly price momentum oscillator is actually green right now. I'm not sure you can really derive much meaning from that. Let's throw on some whole moving averages. We'd have to put a 20 on here. We're above it, right? Which corresponds to bull markets, not bear markets. So hey, that could be another touch point, right? This is the 60-month moving average. You can almost imagine it in, extending out to around the $50,000 range. Let's see if the Gaussian channel, we're way above that. It's going to be hard to get some good data here. We could certainly look at the Bollinger Bands. We can see here's your January 2020. This was a COVID drop and then recovery. We've actually gone under this for the first time in quarter 4 and quarter 1 of 2022 and 2023 respectively. And we tested it, and now I think we may come down. I don't think we'll actually get to it, but we could come, maybe somewhere here. I don't think we're coming all the way down. I think it's just maybe slightly down. This quarter, in fact, yes, this quarter 3, I think is where it's going to happen. Now I'm forgetting I'm on a quarterly time frame. Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, is this quarter going to close green or red? It's green right now, indecisive. During bull markets, I don't think you generally see 2 red quarters in a row. Yeah, going back here, yeah, I don't think we've ever seen that. I don't know if that means that this time could be different as volatility sort of contracts. Certainly could. We're in a bullish SAR by a long shot. To invalidate our bullish SAR, we'd have to come down to 17K. So I think we're in good shape, right? Overall, the bull market is safe. But yeah, on the quarterly time frame, we've never printed 2 reds during a bull market. Maybe this will close indecisive green. We could see, we could see the flush out in August, and then maybe in September things start to recover, because the market does price in rate cuts ahead of time. It does do that, and with Powell being dovish, I think the market's going to start pricing those in early. So, all right, I think this is getting a little bit too long-winded at this point, but that's pretty much the update for Bitcoin. I think it's comprehensive, and sort of trying to give you a different point of view than maybe I've done in recent videos. So hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you like what you saw, be sure to subscribe to this channel and join my Telegram group, the Snake Pit. Got a link in the video description. Thank you for joining me in Crypto Simulation Theory. Again, I'm the Gaussian Snake. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Have a great week wherever you are. Take care. Bye.